been decided with finality, can you still bring it to court again? The doctrine of res judicata says no, but it actually has two important forms: bar by prior judgment and conclusiveness of judgment. In this video, we'll break down both concepts, explain their key differences, and show you real Supreme Court cases to help you remember them easily for the bar exam. The phrase res judicata literally means a matter judged or a thing decided. It is a fundamental rule in remedial law that once a court renders a final judgment on a case or resolves a particular issue with finality, that case or issue cannot be litigated again in another case. There are two main concepts of res judicata: bar by prior judgment and conclusiveness of judgment. Bar by prior judgment means that if a case has already been decided with finality, you cannot file another case involving the same parties, same cause of action, and same subject matter. It is also called claim preclusion. The elements of bar by prior judgment are: first, a final judgment on the merits by a competent court, and second, a second case involving the same parties, subject matter, and cause of action. In such cases, the court will refuse to hear the second case because it is barred by the prior judgment. On the other hand, conclusiveness of judgment means that if a fact or issue was already settled in a previous case between the same parties, it can no longer be disputed in another case, even if the new case is based on a different cause of action. This is also called issue preclusion or collateral estoppel. Its elements are a final judgment on the merits by a competent court in the first case, and a second case between the same parties but on different causes of action. Here, the matters directly resolved in the first case are conclusive and cannot be relitigated. To summarize the differences, first, both require identity of parties, but absolute identity is not necessary. A substantial identity of interest is enough. Second, only bar by prior judgment requires identity of cause of action. Conclusiveness of judgment applies even when the causes of action differ. Third, only bar by prior judgment requires identity of subject matter. Conclusiveness of judgment applies when only some issues or facts have been resolved in the first case. As for their effect, bar by prior judgment prevents the court from taking cognizance of any subsequent case between the same parties involving the same cause of action and subject matter. Meanwhile, conclusiveness of judgment bars only the relitigation of issues or facts already decided in the first case. Let's look at actual Supreme Court cases to clarify. In ASB Realty Corporation versus Espenisen, ASB Realty was the developer of a condominium project. It entered into an agreement with Malayan Insurance Company, which later acted as the developer. The Register of Deeds initially issued condominium titles in ASB Realty's name, but later replaced its name with Malayan Insurance's without a court order. Oscar Ampel, a creditor of ASB Realty, filed a complaint charging the Register of Deeds with falsification of documents. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, which found the respondent guilty of grave misconduct and rendered a final decision. Later, ASB Realty itself filed a second complaint based on the same facts. The Supreme Court ruled the second case was barred by prior judgment. Although the parties were not exactly the same, there was substantial identity of interest because Ampel, as a creditor, would also be harmed by the alteration of titles. The subject matter was the same. The condominium titles and the cause of action was identical, involving the administrative liability of the respondent for altering the titles. This shows how bar by prior judgment works. In contrast, in Padua versus heirs of de Guzman, spouses de Guzman sold a subdivision to Antonio Bangoy, who developed and sold lots to buyers like Padua. Because titles were never issued, the buyers, through Dona Caridad and the Home Lot Owners Association, filed a case for specific performance before the HLURB to compel issuance of titles. The HLURB found Antonio had no authority and declared the sales null and void. This decision became final. Later, the de Guzman heirs asserted ownership, and the buyers filed 26 separate quieting of title actions. The Supreme Court applied res judicata under conclusiveness of judgment. Although the causes of action differed, that is, specific performance versus quieting of title, the core issues were the same: whether the buyers had rights over the property, the validity of the sales executed by Antonio, and whether the buyers acted in good faith. Since these issues were already finally decided by the HLURB, they could no longer be relitigated. In summary, under conclusiveness of judgment, even if the second case involves a different cause of action, facts or issues already resolved between the same parties are final and binding. Understanding these two concepts of res judicata will help you avoid repeating the same case and arguments and prepare you well for bar questions on the topic. Thanks for watching. If this video helped clarify res judicata for you, please like, share, and subscribe for more bar review tips and legal explanations. Drop a comment if you want me to explain other tricky law topics. See you next time.